it is possible, though, to heal from trauma. That I think is a key component to understand.
When I was going through that, I really I wanted to know that eventually I was going to be okay.
We're going to talk, this is part 2. We're going to talk about strategies to heal from trauma. We made a whole episode about signs and symptoms, and that was part 1. This is part 2. And here's the thing. There's lots of strategies, and I don't know. Nobody knows what the right one is for you, because you have to figure it out. But the key is, if you're not applying more than one, more likely it's very difficult to heal from trauma, because in order to heal, you have to really address it more comprehensive, more integrative. Lots of systems are involved after trauma. It can affect the body, as we talked about. It could be emotional, mental, emotional impact, and to address just one won't work.
Right.
And even if we're just addressing pain in the body, that won't work either, because all body systems work together. So lots of things have to happen in order to heal from trauma. Now, we're going to share a lot of strategies, and you may have heard us repeat them in other videos, because yes, there's science-proven strategies for healing from different things or impacting the brain and body in different ways, but there is no one size fits all. You have to find what works for you. You may need more of these kind of strategies, and those ones a little less. Somebody else needs more of those, or that works for them. So please take this as a nice assortment of tools for you to try out and see what works for you in order to be on that journey of healing. We are here to help as well. We're both coaches. I'm Heike Fallon. I'm a certified high performance coach, and I help my clients with self-leadership, and that with a brain-based approach. So got to have your health and your personal performance both working really well in order to sustain for a long time. And I got Shannon here with me.
Hi, Shannon Passalacqua, and I am also a high performance coach, and I specialize in helping women heal after miscarriages, which can be very traumatic. And I use a lot of different techniques to help me heal. And I think it's also important to note that some days a strategy or a tool may help, and some days it may not help. So having a deep pocket full of strategies is a good thing to have. So write these down, put them somewhere, because you may, something may work today that doesn't work tomorrow, vice versa. So and it changes all the time. And so I think learning new things, it's good to keep learning new techniques and strategies. But there are ones that are backed by science that you said that they've been proven to work. I think it's important to really mention those.
Yeah. So because maybe something doesn't work for you today, but it may work for you in a year from now. So revisit it, go at it again, because timing matters sometimes.
If your traumatic experience just happened, you may not be ready to join a community or to talk about it, to go to talk therapy, or vice versa. You may be really craving a community.
And with that said, right, here's a good point to say, if you are in a state where you can't function in daily life at all, highly recommend to reach out to a professional, as far as a therapist or counselor, or helplines. There are resources for if you're really in a state that you need something right now and fast. Please do that. The strategies we're sharing is really for long-term healing from trauma, and they may not give you that quick change that you need, because it is unfortunately a journey, and it does take time, and it is possible, though, to heal from trauma. That, I think, is a key component to understand. You will get better. It will take time. It took me years. It would have been shorter if I would have recognized that I'm dealing
Yeah.
with trauma. I'm not going to share my whole story, but my big, I mean, I had actually other traumatic events besides the childbirth, but which I shared in episode 1. So I'm not going to repeat it. But bottom line is, there can be traumatic events in your life that you didn't even think they're traumatic
Mhm.
events, and but they're not healing, and you're not healing, and nobody finds the answers. And we talked about that in episode 1. um the first thing is, I think, in order to apply any strategy to actually have that awareness of like, okay, I am dealing with something that was maybe a traumatic event, and understanding that, I need to possibly do something differently and not just continue with my life as business as usual. I may
Right.
need to, really check in, have more awareness, how I'm feeling, how I'm behaving, and what I'm doing, gaining that awareness, and then knowing, and I know it's hard. I've been there. There's been days I cried and cried and cried and said, I will never be better. It was hard. It was miserable. Yes, those days existed, and they did exist for longer periods of time, because my journey was like this.
Mhm.
It would go up and down until I recognized that I'm dealing with trauma, and that I recognized that I had to really approach this comprehensive from all angles, because
Mhm.
I was just going to the doctor trying to fix one symptom and not really addressing it
Right.
comprehensive. So
Well, you made a good point, and I think it's really important to acknowledge because I didn't when I was going through my miscarriages, and again, I've had other trauma, not just my miscarriages, but when I
yeah,
was going through that, I really I wanted to know that eventually I was going to be okay.
and that's hard.
And it's when you're in it, it's hard to see that you're ever going to be okay. So just know you are going to be okay. There's going to be some hard times working through the trauma or the grief, or it's not easy to go through the healing process. It is not easy. And I tell that to all the women I work with. It is not easy, but it's easier to do it now than to keep putting it off.
And that gives us one key component, I think super important, is community. So part
Yeah.
of the healing process, one strategy, I think everybody has to kind of integrate in the form it works for them, is a form of community that can be a group. I know you have a group for women
Mhm.
that went through miscarriage, because the point is that you see women at different stages of their healing process,
Mhm.
right? And then you see where they at, and they can share what they've been through, and when they are in the moment, they were in that moment of not seeing a perspective. Now, for me, I couldn't find a direct group, that because of my situation didn't quite have like groups. I couldn't find one, but I have a really supportive husband, and really good friends that supported me. And so
Well,
for
I
me,
think you and I connected
and you and I connected over knowing.
because of that.
Yes, so
Yeah, I mean, I remember us having dinner and talking about all that because we had been through similar
yep,
experiences with
not the same. I've not had a miscarriage, but we had similar other challenges. So for me, my support system was really friends that I connected with, due to they understanding where I'm coming from, even they've not gone through the same thing, but they had that empathy, and were able to listen. And definitely my husband and my kids being super supportive and understanding. So whatever it be, some kind of support system is needed
Mhm. Yeah.
in order
Yeah,
to.
yeah, you can't do this alone.
Now, it's not everybody's for being in a group and talking and stuff. And by the way, groups can be in person, can be online, can be also just virtual. I know you have a Facebook group, right?
Mhm.
So it can be also where it's just typing, and when you're not visual necessarily, but I know you also meet once a month. So that can be options too. Find what works for you. That's
Mhm.
really the key. But support is needed. We know that there's lots of science that backs up that support and community has a huge impact on healing.
Well, and if you look at different societies and different types of cultures, when they're going through hard times, they gather around each other. They come and support each other, and you don't see that as much right now because of internet and we've kind of become a society that's we do the internet thing so much, and we're not always together. But when people are going through a hard time, they support each other. And I think what's important to note about that, because when I was going through it, I never wanted to lean on someone else. I didn't want to put my burden on someone else. And I want people to know that people want to be wanted and needed.
Yeah.
When you're going through something difficult, people want to help you. They may, the way they do it may not be something that you're, in agreement with or whatever, but they do want to help. There are people out there who do want to help. So just know you're not being a burden.
Yeah.
People want to help you, whether it's bringing you dinner, whether it's going on a walk with you, which we could jump right into that. That's another strategy.
I love that. That's another, I was just thinking about that. The other strategy is definitely physical movement. Huge, huge. And that doesn't mean you have to go out and get all crazy, just a walk sometimes. Short walks, or just just a little movement, even just dancing or just moving your body is very important, not just for moving your muscles, but also, and not just for the neurotransmitter release, which there is neurotransmitter release that can be very good as far as also balancing different hormones, but also because it activates the lymphatic system, and you're also breathing more, which activates the cranial nerve. So that's a whole nother strategy as far as activating certain nerves, like the vagus nerve, the cranial nerves, that calms the nervous system down. So if you need calming because of anxiety or those type of symptoms, breathing exercises, which I consider like physical exercise, because you're actually using your diaphragm. So breathing exercises are fantastic to do. Now, not every breathing exercise, again, works the same way for
right. Some will give you energy, some will calm you down.
Not everybody needs to do box breathing. Can be a great drill, but some people, particularly trauma or stress, may not respond really well to that. Then use a different type of breathing drill. There's lots of different breathing drills. Find the one that's, again, right for you. But exercising, movement, and
there's science out there that shows that if you dance, like moving your body, like it, for some reason, it helps move that trauma out of you. So I know it sounds silly and you probably feel silly doing it, but there are certain movements that help you release that stress and that trauma.
Yes, I actually did an interview with Julie Tom. She's a trauma-informed movement specialist. So she's a certified coach in that. I interviewed her. So it's very fascinating on how we can address trauma with movement and different types of movement. And again, lymphatic system, all systems are important. Your cardiovascular system, your lymph system. So all the different
your eyes.
Yep, eyes are very important for trauma rehabilitation. So there's I did a full interview with her, but movement, hands down, something to do, which can be difficult when you're dealing with if one of your signs and symptoms is more the depression and you just want to pull that blanket over your head and you just don't want to deal with it. In that case, oftentimes you might start really, really small. If it's just about walking a block or back, or something, trying to get outside, just moving a block and back might be your starting point. So don't feel bad if it's not like I need to go for a walk for 30 minutes, an hour,
or to go for a run and
yeah.
But I have to say, like, running actually did help me.
Yeah.
Because I needed to
Push it.
Get that out of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yoga makes me angry.
Yeah.
I can't do yoga. Everyone's like, try yoga. It's so calming. And I'm like, I can't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I've
This
tried it.
is so important, I think, too, when particularly when it's you know, healing from trauma, is find the things that you enjoy, right?
Mhm.
I personally could not connect very well with yoga, except the shavasana at the end, lying there and just
I can connect real well with that, Mart.
I'm like, when is that starting? I need to kind of move differently too, but everybody's different, right? Some people like more the free form movement. Some people like to follow along with some specific movement sequences. The key is find something that you love, that brings you joy. Just move.
Yeah, move.
Whatever.
And like you said earlier, moving outside brings us back to nature,
Yeah. Yeah.
connecting with nature. You know what I keep hearing the young kids say these days?
Yeah.
They keep saying, go touch grass.
If they know what it is.
But I think it's funny because it's true. Like when you're stressed or when you're like anxiety, go touch grass.
Yeah.
Go outside, be in nature.
Yeah. Now, another thing I know you've done a lot, I do it in the short version, is definitely journaling. Like journaling is a great one to gain clarity. I personally like the more bullet point, short kind of version journaling, uh, putting some thoughts down for me. I know you did a lot of long format kind of
Yeah.
journaling that
Telling
helped.
my story through journaling
Yeah. So, and
was very helpful for me.
yeah, and with that also the creative expression, so which does not always mean art. That can be also dance, that can be however you want to express yourself. We actually did a
Writing poems, doing oh my God, my mind just went blank, but
any
gardening.
yeah, but even like, theater,
Mhm.
anything where you express yourself creatively. It's not like you have to be all of a sudden become this incredible painter. But just even if it's something that you just do for yourself, even, it's not about, like scribbling, or just, I know you ended up creating
I wrote a whole blog, started a whole blog because of it.
yeah, so creative expression though helps you to really gain more clarity, connect again with yourself more, which I know we talked about oftentimes with trauma, and particularly also grief involved, it can be derailing a little bit our identity, who we are, and things shift. So when we're expressing ourselves creatively, we can redefine who we are, gain more clarity, and that can be really, really helpful in that journey. um and then I would say too, I know we said it right now, yoga wasn't the thing for us, but also it's meditation is also
I
something
love
that
meditation.
I struggled with, but then actually I did it because I really decided I really wanted to learn it, just because the science
Yeah.
that backs it up is just
Yeah.
so good that I decided, you know what, I need to do it a real attempt. So during the pandemic, I actually did do it every day for
Me
like
too.
200 some days, because I
Yep.
wanted to really see, because the truth is, at the end of the day, everything is a skill and we can learn everything if we want to. So I wanted to really see how that shifts. And I did get actually better, and I started enjoying it, just because the benefits of meditation are just, they're just too good to ignore.
Yeah, I always I go back and forth with meditation. I love meditation. It's finding the time to actually do it. But I did it during the pandemic too. And I think that's also important to note. Like the pandemic was pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
So doing meditation during that time, I think was a really good idea. And continuing to work on it, I think is very beneficial. So I meditation, I know, and a lot of people go, oh, meditation, I can't do it. My mind wanders. That's the point. That's
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah. Which is hard. That I had a hard time, because for me, it's my to-do list coming up all the time.
Yeah. But and again, that's the point, is just noticing, okay, well, my to-do list is coming up.
So for me,
Okay.
the guided meditation ended up being the key. I
I
did
love this.
not do well. The longer the stretches where nobody's talking, that doesn't work. Didn't work for me in the beginning. Now I can. Now I
Mhm,
can actually hold that empty space that really makes the change. And it took a
mhm.
while though. It took really consistently doing it every day. And it doesn't have to be long, but I went for like the 10-15 minute kind of meditation.
Yeah.
But then again, that was me really wanting to do it. Find the things that work for you, find the things that you can implement. I want to mention one more big strategy I think that is very important too is setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, because whatever boundaries you may have before the traumatic event might be very different after, and you might have to reassess your situation and reassess the boundaries, and
Mhm,
maybe setting new boundaries, shifting a little bit on where your boundaries are, and where you need to kind of temporarily sometimes just make little adjustments. So
mhm.
I think that
I
that's
think, I think probably the last one I'll talk about is, um, eating healthy.
yep, 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 yep. I know.
Sorry. Because I know when we're going through something hard, right? We wanna have the ice cream and we wanna eat the really bad food, which, maybe do for a day or two or whatever. But our gut and our microbiome and our body needs us to really eat healthy and get the nutrients, because this can be healing is hard work on our body. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. If we don't have the energy to do it, if we're not gaining the energy from our diet, it's just gonna make it more difficult. And when our whole body is healing together, the benefits are huge. And it's something I wish I had known when I was going through my healing and when I was going through all of my stuff. I wish I had known to treat my body better and to eat healthier, because I think it really would have helped me heal a little faster.
That's
So,
what changed my journey was actually addressing the diet.
yeah.
And so if you're, because I think through the dramatic events and through, of course, in my case, due to medications, my gut was a mess.
Mhm,
And so what changed it and brought it up on the right trajectory was changing to a diet. Now, healthy, what does that really mean? I usually suggest to my clients, if they haven't started yet, start on, you know, definitely cutting out sugar, not the fruit sugar, but
right.
the cookie,
The
the cake,
processed food, sugar.
all the processed food, the preservatives. There's lots of uh, basically doing a more anti-inflammatory diet. You can Google that. But I have to say, when you're really struggling, I always say assess and reassess. And for that, you might have to do some gut function tests and you might need to work with a nutritionist, but which I ended up doing because you need a much more tailored
Mhm,
um, program for you. I ended up having to really rebuild my gut and rebuild. And for that, you need to really know, what am I really lacking? What do I need to maybe supplement? How do I need to change my diet specifically for my needs? Because there is no one size fits all again. And so I highly recommend when it comes down to that, because it is a crucial component. It's not a surprise we're calling the gut the little brain, because it is connected to the brain. The brain and the gut are connected. So uh, having that really evaluated and done with the help of a integrative nutritionist,
mhm.
I think is a way to do it when you're really struggling and you need to address the topic. The general guidelines may not be enough. Wasn't for me.
Right.
So I worked with a nutritionist on that.
Yeah, I think, and for the women who've had miscarriages, it messes up your gut, it messes up your hormones, and so it's all related. So it may not be the first step you want to take, but definitely keep it in mind.
Yeah, and then in general, though, I know we started off like the mindset matters, right? And you might need counseling or therapy to
Mhm.
address really the past and overcoming that and coping with that traumatic event. On the other hand, what helped me a lot is actually having a coach, because
Mhm.
a coach actually picks
The
you up.
coach helped me the most.
Yeah. Not saying, like, I have a lot of clients, they have a therapist and
Yeah.
they work with me since I'm a coach. What we do as a coach is really pick you up from where you're at today. And yes, we know your past and we're kind of pulling that in, but we're really more concerned about how do we move you from here forward in your life, not ignoring it. Like sometimes I referred somebody out to a therapist as well, because I'm like, you know what, that event might be so traumatic, you might need to work on it more. And a therapist can be a great way to work on a specific event more. So with that said, though, for me, really one big change was also shifting, um, not shifting, that's not the right word, but actually having a purpose and a mission again.
Yeah.
Because I kind of was
Connecting with your purpose.
so into just
Yep.
survival and trying
Yep.
to heal physically that I
Yeah.
kind of just was thinking, maybe next day, how do I get through the next day? And I kind of lost the having some bigger ambitions, bigger
Yeah.
visions, like, like I nothing went further than how am I going to handle the next 24 hours? And so for me, really working with the coach, working on who I am, what I want, how does I, when they asked me what do you where do you see yourself in 5 years? I was like, oh my God, I'm like 24 hours. I can think 24 hours. I'm like, I can't even think 1 year. That
Yeah.
was so hard for me because I had actually unlearned to do that. And I had to
Yeah.
relearn to like go, hey, yeah, I have other ambitions again. Like there's like, yeah, I'm seeing
That's such an
myself.
important that's such an important point that you're making, because I did the exact same thing where it was just you're living moment to moment, day to day, just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so it's reconnecting again to your values, what's important to you, and seeing something bigger down the road and
That
how to work towards that.
that was a big game changer for me.
Yeah,
That's when after
100%.
years and years, I'm like, I did that.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
It's so funny that you brought that up, because I'm glad you did, because the exact same thing happened to me when I started working with a coach and we started finding like, oh my gosh, this is my passion.
yeah,
How do I, what I, how do I want to show up?
yep. And so that is often put as a last resort,
Mhm.
but I think that is a really, really, really important component and short changed my path in the
Yeah.
healing and made me a whole lot better. And by that shift, it also made me more open for all these other strategies that we talked about,
Yeah.
because I wasn't quite the same receptive because my mind was just into how do I survive till
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Survival mode.
So that really changed it for me. So those are a few strategies. I'm pretty
Way to
sure.
wrap it up.
Yeah, we may have missed some. Totally possible. Comment below what helped you. That's, maybe there's something about it. Obviously,
The ones that are definitely backed up by science. We know that.
yeah. I mean, again, the general, and this falls into the last thing we said, is the personal growth and the positive thinking, the mindset is a huge component. You can't just talk it into you. You got to really work on that. There's lots of strategies, trying out different ones at different times, revisiting that. Again, working with a coach can be helpful. Working with a therapist can be super helpful as well. Just acknowledging where you're at in time and what you need to do. And the journey might be hard, but it will move up, because when you're
It's worth
working
it.
on it, it will be changing.
Nice. Oh,
Well, that's it.
yes.
Watch episode 1 with the signs and symptoms on this topic. And again, we have lots of other recordings we have on the channel here with, for journaling. It's an episode about journaling, the creative expression, lots of other ones. Check them out. and subscribe to Shannon's channel, my channel, if you'd like to learn more about our specific topics.
Yeah, and we will see you next time.
Bye, Shannon.
Bye.